Hello! Hey everyone. How are you guys doing? You guys doing good? Hey Hope, welcome back. Hey Losh. Or Rava. How's it going? Why can't I see my chat? Oh, there we go. Hey Leslie Ann, how's it going? Is it sad but this stream is the only Is this sad that this stream is the only thing I look forward to? No, it's not sad. I appreciate it. But I suggest like, you know, finding other things to be excited about. But I appreciate it. That's funny. Hey, Nikki. Welcome back. What's up, Patrick? Olivia, how's it going? Hope says, smells like someone did a big fart outside my window. Well, thanks for the information. That's very interesting. Hey, Katie. How's it going? Luna, what's up? CC asks, any news on the nine-tailed possum? I do have news, or I rather, it's kind of news. I haven't caught it, but the thing is, it hasn't come back. Okay, so I looked outside my my house, and there's a place that I think it's trying to get in. Well, there's a place that I think it comes in through. I'm pretty sure there's supposed to be a grate there, like a metal grate, and it's gone. It seems like. I think that's where it's going in. But they also have, like, the previous owners put a mesh on like the outside kind of thing where it's kind of hard to get in, right? And I saw that mesh was pulled out. It was like pulled out, so a possum-sized creature could get in. I think that's where it was coming in from. So I went up and I just kind of closed it. I mean, if you really try, you can pull it out again. But I did that, and I did that last week, and it has not come back. It has not come back. Which is, I guess it's good news and bad news, because I set up the trap. I set up an apple trail and everything, and I really wanted to see it work. But yeah, it hasn't come back yet. The nine-tailed possum has gone away. I don't know when it will come back, or if it will ever come back. Breaking news, it hasn't come back. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe it's gone. A little sad. Our little mascot is gone. Hey, Kuria, how's it going? Oh. Okay, so check this out, guys. Yeah, so I think our possum saga has ended. So I'll let you know if there's any news left, but I think that's it. I need to take down my trap now. I'll keep it up for another week, but I think it's gone. Oh well. You would have caught me? If I put boba in there, I'll catch you. I'd probably catch myself if I put boba inside. So check this out, guys. So, like, Hope has spoiled me because she bought me this. Look at that. Isn't that funny? I love that. Yeah, it's a little cup, little boba cup. And I'm drinking honeydew tea that I just made right before the stream. Let's see how it tastes, all right? Oh, good shit. I'm a great boba tea maker. Alright, chat likes that. It's funny. I also have some mochi. Yeah. Bubble milk tea mochi. It's two of my favorite things in one. Alright, let's pull this out. McDonald's would catch you? Yeah, probably. Like those McDonald's nuggets, they're amazing. With sweet and sour sauce. Okay. I don't know if this is necessary, but they're all in each mochi is in a little bag. Little puffy bag. Ooh. Alright, bubble milk tea mochi, huh? Let's see. Pretty good. It does taste like milk tea. Mmm. Mmm. Pretty good. What's up, Wither Jolly? What is in boba tea? It's just boba is just tapioca. It's tapioca starch. And then you cook it, and it becomes this chewy ball thing. Yeah. I like to chew on balls or suck on balls, as this cup says. How am I doing? I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing really well. A little sad that I didn't catch the nine-tailed possum, but you know, you can't always get what you want in life. Ah, nom nom nom. Hey, what's up, Margaret? You're a big fan? Awesome. Like, how many speeds do you have? Low, medium, high? Korea, yeah, you should look into it. Because it's really good. Yeah, go try some boba and then tell me how you like it. Do, 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 do. Oh, I was just joking. I was just joking about the fan thing. I'm glad you joined. Hey, I'm glad you like the channel. You want a pet fox with 9 tails. Well, you and me both, sister. Okay, so shall we talk about what happened last week in our story? All right, last week. Remember, our hero Ling Hu Chong was up in the mountains, serving out his sentence, his 1-year meditation sentence, and oh, excuse me. Oh, 2 burps. Tian Boguang, the rapist, comes up and he wants Ling Hu Chong to come down with him to go. We don't know what he wants to do. He says he wants Ling Hu Chong to come down to meet Yilin again. All right. But Ling Hu Chong doesn't want to do that, and he fights with Tian Boguang. He loses a lot. Okay. But then in the middle of the fight, we meet Grandmaster Feng Qingyang. Feng Qingyang, just out of nowhere, coming from the cave, he comes out and he says, "Hey, I'm the Grandmaster," and he teaches Ling Hu Chong how to fight. Okay, gives him some pointers. And one of the things he says is that in martial arts, you should fight like floating clouds and flowing water. Meaning it shouldn't be too strict, right? Your movements should be flowy, like water. All right, and this really resonates with Ling Hu Chong's personality. Okay, he's kind of a carefree guy, so he takes his advice and he does a little bit better, right? He does a little bit better, but he still keeps losing to Tian Boguang. And then the Feng Qingyang, the Grand Master, teaches him this really special kung fu called the Dugu Nine Swords. Okay, and this martial arts was created by this one dude, this one like Grand Master a long time ago. His name was Dugu Seeking a Loss, and I got a real kick out of that name. So Dugu Seeking a Loss, because he always sought out a loss, like losing. He couldn't lose. All right. Because of his martial arts, he never lost. Now I would have called him something else like Dugu the Undefeated or something. I feel like a lot of these names would sound less corny if you just add the word "the" in the middle. It's like Dongfang Invincible. Could be like Dongfang the Invincible. That'd be cool. But maybe it's the charm of the story. So yeah, so this Dugu Nine Swords martial arts is really good, and this master teaches him a couple of moves from the Dugu Nine Swords, and he comes out and he beats Tianpo Guang. Okay, he's just super powerful now. He beats him, almost like with no problems, and then he beats him, and then Tianpo Guang almost falls down the cliff, but they stop, and now they're going to do a rematch, I think. So at the end of the last chapter, they were starting their rematch. Yeah, that's it. That's what happened last time. Dun, dun, dun. How's that? You want to try those boba packets? Yeah, it's bubble milk tea mochi. It does taste like milk tea. I'll give them that. They got the flavor pretty well. You told your brother about the kappa, and he laughed so hard. That's a really popular yokai. I like the kappa too. This kung fu master might be a ghost. Could be. I don't know. Anything can happen. Okay. Shall we get started? All right, so remember, they're starting the rematch now. Realizing that Ling Huchong's thrust was quickly approaching him, Xiao Boguang hurriedly turned his knife around and smacked it toward Ling Huchong's sword. Relying on his own exceptional strength, he thought that as soon as the knife and the sword collided, for sure he would be able to knock the longsword out of Ling Huchong's grip. With the first thrust, Ling Huchong was already able to take on the initiative. The second and the third thrusts shot out continuously. Each thrust was accurate and effective, and his sword tip was never a second apart from his opponent's vital parts. So it looks like Ling Huchong was like super good now. Tianpo Guang didn't have enough time to parry off the attacks and had to take one step back after another. Who would have expected that after 10 moves or so, he actually followed the same old disastrous road and once again retreated to the very edge of the cliff. Ling Huchong slashed down with his sword and forced Tianpo Guang to wave his knife down to guard his lower portion body. At the meantime, he reached out with his left hand and struck out in a claw hand. The claw hand struck with perfect timing and broke through from a flaw in Tianpo Guang's defense line. Ling Huchong held the claw hand still when his fingers were only 2 inches from Tianpo Guang's Tanzhong point on his chest. He had sealed Tianpo Guang's Tanzhong point twice before. Tianpo Guang knew very well that if Ling Huchong had struck out with his claw hand, he would have collapsed and his body would have fallen into the bottomless abyss this time. Instead of falling onto the ground. When Ling Huchong held his hand still, he was obviously giving ground. The two both stayed still for a brief moment before Ling Hucheng once again leapt back to yield. Tianpo Guang sat on a rock and meditated a short while with his eyes shut. Suddenly, he shouted a loud roar as he launched his attack, chopping down vertically with mighty force. This time, he took the surroundings into consideration and made sure his back was facing the mountain. He figured that even if he were forced into retreat, he would end up retreating into the cave. And without worrying about falling down the cliff, he could really fight it out. By now, Ling Hucheng had a good grasp of the various variations in Tianpo Guang's knife moves. When Tian's chop came, he dodged to the right, and at the meantime slashed his long sword toward Tianpo Guang's left shoulder. Tianpo Guang circled his knife back to block, but Ling Hucheng had already retracted his sword and thrust it at his left waist. Tianpo Guang's left arm was only less than a foot away from his left waist. When he had circled his knife back, he was actually defending and launching a counterattack at the same time, and to be able to execute his counterattack, he had attached much strength with the move, which sent the knife chopping out. In a hurry, he didn't have enough time to pull his knife back to guard his waist, so with no other choice, he took a half step to his right. Ling Hucheng threw another thrust at Tian's right cheek. Tianpo Guang hurriedly raised his knife to block when Ling Hucheng's sword suddenly pointed at his left leg. Not able to block this one in time either, Tianpo Guang had to take another step to his right. Ling Hucheng continued with endless thrusts, and all of which aimed at Tianpo Guang's left side and forced him to retreat to his right one step after another. After about 10 steps, Tianpo Guang found himself near the end of the cliff where a big rock blocked his retreating route. Leaning his back against the rock wall, Tianpo Guang simply waved his knife all around himself and paid no attention to how Ling Hucheng might thrust his sword out. Tearing sounds came into his ears continuously as Ling Hucheng's sword slashed 6 times on his left sleeve, left side of the robe. Slashed 6 times on his left sleeve, left side of the robe, and the left leg of his pants. The entire 6 slashes only left cuts on his clothing without really touching his skin. Tianpo Guang knew too well that any one of the 6 slashes could have cut his belly open or cut off his arm and leg. In the instant, Tianpo Guang felt so disheartened and dispirited that it seemed as if all his hopes had died out. In unspeakable despair, he spewed out a mouthful of blood. I didn't know you can spit out blood from despair. So, yeah, he's totally losing, right? And try as he might, Tianpo Guang just couldn't block his attacks, and now he's back against the cliff again. Within the short moments, Ling Hucheng had succeeded in forcing Tianpo Guang to the very edge between life and death 3 times in a row. Ling Hucheng almost couldn't believe it himself. Just a few days ago, his opponent still had much superior kung fu than him. Yet, right now, he had taken the lead and had his opponent completely in his power. He had won so easily that he didn't even have to use all his strength. Although he maintained his composure deep in his heart, he was really enlightened beyond words. By the time Tianpo Guang spurted out a mouthful of blood after the crushing defeat, remorse welled up in Ling Hucheng's heart. "Brother Tian," he said, "victories and defeats are normal and common." Wait, this is Ling Hucheng talking. "Brother Tian, victories and defeats are normal and common. Why are you taking it so hard? Didn't I lose to you many times before?" Yo, guys, what's with the pog thing? I'm gonna kick you. You keep doing that. Tianpo Guang threw his knife down and shook his head. Senior Grandmaster Feng has miraculous sword skill. No one will be a match for him in the entire world. I will never be a match for you again. Alright, guys. Any more Pog talk in the chat? I'm kicking you, okay? Alright. Xiaobo Guang threw his knife down and shook his head. Senior Grandmaster Feng has miraculous sword skills. No one will be a match for him in the entire world. I will never be a match for you again. Brother Tian, you said it right. It was all because of Grand Uncle Master Feng's great advice. I was able to gain victory. Ling Hu Cheng picked up the knife and handed it back respectfully with both hands. Grand Uncle Master Feng hopes that you can grant him a request. My life is at your mercy. What's there to talk about? Tian Boguang didn't take the knife and mocked in a sad tone. Grand Uncle Master has withdrawn from society and lived a hermit's life for many years. He prefers not to be disturbed by vulgar people. When you, Brother Tian, leave Mount Huashan, would you please not mention the respectful Grand Uncle Master's name to anyone? I would really appreciate that, Ling Hu Chang said. Why don't you just stab me with your sword to rid the witness? Wouldn't that be a lot easier? Jiang Boguang mocked coldly. Ling Hu Chang took 2 steps back and slid his sword back to the sheath. Brother Tian, earlier when your kung fu skills were way ahead of mine, you could have whacked me with a single chop, and then this would never have happened. I am only asking a favor from you to not tell anyone else the whereabouts of my Grand Uncle Master Feng. I dare not mean any intimidation or offense, he explained sincerely. Fine, I won't, Tian Boguang agreed. Many thanks to you, Brother Tian. Ling Hu Chang bowed deeply. I have come to invite you down Mount Huashan as instructed. I guess that's not going to work now. But we are not done yet. I probably will never be able to beat you in a fight again in this life. I am not giving up, though. This concerns my own life, so I will have no choice but to keep pestering you. You can't blame me for not being a true man. Brother Linghu, farewell for now. At the last word, Tian Boguang cupped his hands with a salute and then walked off. You're an online school, guys? And you're paying attention to this? I'm telling your teachers. Ling Hu Chong remembered the deadly poison that was planted in Tian Boguang's body. After Tian left Mount Huashan, the poison would soon become active and kill him. After so many fierce fights with him, Ling Hu Chong felt as if they were much closer, unwittingly. He almost called out with an impulse, I'll go with you. Then he remembered that he was still being punished on the cliff of contemplation, and without Master's permission, he was not allowed to even take a step off the cliff. Besides, Tian was a rapist who did all kinds of evil. If he had left together with Tian, wouldn't he be wallowing in the mire with Tian? That would surely bring disgrace and ruin upon him and lead to endless trouble. With those thoughts, he held the words back and simply looked on as Tian Boguang descended down the path. Ling Hu Chong went back into the cave and bowed down to the ground. Whoa, looks like he beat him, like, with no problems. So, his skills, his martial arts skills have just, like, fucking doubled or tripled. Huh, good balls. What's up, mainstream hypocrisy? Glad you can make it. Nikki says, if Ling Hu Chong leaves with Tian Boguang, people will think he left the mountain to do evil. Yeah, that's true. Grand Uncle Master, you not only saved my life, but also taught me superb sword techniques. How can I ever repay you for the kindness and grace? Superb sword techniques? Superb sword techniques. Huh, it's still far from that. Feng Qingyang let out a smile, yet the smile was really in a mood of loneliness and depression. May I make bold to ask Grand Uncle Master to teach me all of the Dugu Nine Swords techniques, Ling Hucheng pleaded. Yeah, there you go. Do it. Are you sure you won't regret it later for learning the Dugu Nine Swords? Feng Qingyang asked. Ling Hucheng was confused for a moment, thinking that why would he regret it later? Then he quickly found an answer and thought, I see. The Dugu Nine Swords are not sword techniques from our own school. Grand Uncle Master meant that Master might not approve it and punish me once he finds out about it. But Master never restricts me from learning other schools' techniques. For references, he has said before that stones from other hills may serve to polish the jade on this one. Advice from others may help one overcome one's shortcomings. Besides, I have already learned many Hangshan, Taishan, and Songshan sword moves from the drawings on the rock wall. I even learned some demon cult elders' kung fu. The Dugu Nine Swords kung fu is so magnificent. It is the kind of unravel skill that us martial arts practitioners would crave about even in our dreams. I am really very lucky to have a senior grand master in our school who is willing to teach it to me. This is the most fortunate thing in my entire life. I would only feel grateful, never regret, he said as he knelt down. Very well, I will teach you then. If I don't teach the Dugu Nine Swords to you, there probably won't be Dugu Nine Swords left in this world. A few years from now, Feng Qingyang said with a smile. For a moment, his face showed traces of great delight, but soon they were replaced with a dreary expression. After a long pause, he finally continued. So it looks like this Feng Qingyang Grandmaster is sad about something. Tian Boguang definitely won't just give up so easily. Even if he decides to come back again, it's going to be at least 10 to 15 days from now. Your kung fu is already better than his, and you certainly have more tricks than he does. I don't think you'll ever be afraid of him again. We have plenty of time now, so you must study from the very beginning to ensure a solid foundation. This time, Feng Qingyang went through the script of the general index stance, the first stance of the Dugu Nine Swords, one sentence at a time, and explained in great detail, bundled with various variations that were implementations of the script. Ling Hucheng had simply memorized the script by ear, without understanding most of the ideas and theories behind it. Now, with Feng Qingyang's calm and unhurried explanation, he was able to comprehend many principles of advanced level kung fu and several brilliant and profound variations every moment of it. He couldn't help but show his great happiness and great admiration throughout the time. The old and the young went over the brilliant sword techniques in the Dugu Nine Swords atop the cliff of contemplation. They started from general index stance and went on with sword breaking stance, knife breaking stance, spear breaking stance, mace breaking stance, whip breaking stance, palm breaking stance, and missile breaking stance, all the way until the ninth stance, energy breaking stance. Okay, I guess he can overcome every weapon possible. The spear breaking stance included techniques to overcome long weapons, such as long-handled spear, long-handled halberd, snake-shaped spear, staff, fanged cudgel, white wax stick, Buddhist monk's staff, and Buddhist monk's spade. The mace breaking stance was used to overcome short weapons such as steel club, iron mace, point sealing peg, crutches, a mace thing, dagger, war axe, iron plate, octagonal hammer, and iron awl. The whip breaking stance was able to overcome flexible weapons such as long cord, whip, three-section staff, chain spear, iron chain, fishing net, and meteor hammer. Although each move was just one stance, it had endless variations. The more Ling Hucheng learned, the more powerful it became. when he comprehended the connections between each stance. The last 3 stances were the most difficult ones. The palm breaking stance overcame kung fu skills related to one's fists, legs, fingers, and palms. If the opponents were brave enough to fight against a sword with bare hands, he had to have superb kung fu skills, and that using a weapon or not was really no difference for him anymore. There are many fist forms, leg forms, finger forms, and palm forms in the world, and all of them are very complex. The palm breaking stance included techniques to overcome boxing and grappling, joint manipulation and point sealing, demon claw and tiger claw hands, iron sand divine palm, and the type of bare-handed kung fu skills. The word missile in the name of a missile breaking stance included the many different kinds of missiles and projectiles. Oh, like ICBMs. He can block intercontinental ballistic missiles. To be able to learn this stance, the practitioner must first learn the skill of distinguishing the type of missile by ear. He not only should be capable of blocking the many kinds of missiles coming from the enemy with his longsword, but also redirecting the force in the missiles to send them back and injure the enemy with his own missiles. We need to place this guy like right outside of the borders of North Korea. We only need him. We only need him to protect South Korea. When it came to the 9th stance, energy breaking stance, Fang Qingyang only taught Ling Hucheng the script and formula of how to practice it. Fang Qingyang explained, this stance is used to overcome opponents who have great inner energy. The essence of the move really depends on your own interpretation. When Senior Master Dugu took on the entire martial world with this set of Dugu 9 swords many years ago, he couldn't even find a single person that could defeat him. That was all because he had reached the acme of perfection. The acme? Is that a word? The acme? Is that like the epitome? I thought that was that's the company that Wile E. Coyote uses to buy his stuff, to buy his straps for the Roadrunner. Huh. Acme, the point at which someone or something is best, perfect, or most successful. Huh. Learn something new every day. Acme means the epitome, the peak, the pinnacle, the zenith. You can reflect blaster bolts. Damn. He's powerful. He's a Jedi. Oh my god. Oh my god. Ling Hucheng just became a Jedi. Right, so that was all because he had reached the acme of perfection with a set of sword techniques. The same sword techniques from the same Huashan style sword art could have very different effect and power. It's the same with the Dugu 9 swords. Even though you have learned the sword techniques, if you can't perfect your skills, you would be still no match for first-class elite fighters in today's world. You have already entered the field. Oh, he's entered the field of top fighters in the world. He's only entered it, so he's like at the bottom or something of the bottom of the elites, but he's still like, he's one of the top fighters now, apparently, in the world. Just because he learned this martial arts. If you prefer to win than to lose, go practice hard for another 20 years. Then you will be capable of competing with the key players in the world. The more Ling Hucheng studied, the more he realized that there were endless variations in the 9 stances, and it will take a very long time for him to actually probe all of the profound knowledge in them. When he heard his grand uncle master saying that he still needed to work hard on practicing the sword techniques for at least 20 more years, he wasn't surprised at all. Holy CC. CC just said, Anyone else thinking that Dugu and Dooku sound too similar? Oh my god. He's a Sith Lord. Guys, this is a revelation. Guys. You guys. Ah, you're right. Darth Vader's armor is based off of Japanese armor. Especially the helmet. If I'm able to fully understand the idea left by Senior Master Dooku when he created the 9 stances of Dooku 9 Swords, I would be overjoyed, he said. You don't have to unduly humble yourself. Great Master Dooku was one with extraordinary intelligence. To be able to master his sword techniques, the key lies in the word comprehension, not simply memorizing mechanically. Once you understand the essence of the sword techniques, you can use it any way you want. Even if you have forgotten all the variations completely, it wouldn't matter anyway. And if you are in a real fight, the more you forget about them, the less you will be restricted by the original sword stances. You are good kung fu material, just the right kind to learn this set of sword techniques. In today's world, I doubt that there's really any extraordinary hero out there. You should remain diligent in your studies. I am leaving now, Feng Qingyang said. Ling Huchang was dumbfounded. Grand Uncle Master, where are you going? His voice quivering, he asked anxiously. I have been living by the backside of Mount Huashan for decades. I just had a sudden impulse earlier and came out of my cave to teach you the set of sword techniques, hoping that Senior Master Dooku's unrivaled and superb kung fu wouldn't get rotten together with me. Of course, it's time to go back now, Feng Qingyang said. Grand Uncle Master, so you live right by the backside of the mountain. That's wonderful. I can serve upon you days and nights to help rid you of your lonesomeness, Ling Huchang said happily. Starting from now on, I will never see anyone from the Huashan school. Even you are not an exception, Feng Qingyang said sternly. Seeing the frightened and confused look on Ling Huchang's face, he changed into a softer tone. Chong, fate brought us together, and you are very to my liking. I am truly very delighted to have you, such a wonderful boy, to carry on my sword techniques in my old age. If you still think I am your Grand Uncle Master, then don't come looking for me to make things difficult. Grand Uncle Master, why? Ling Huchang felt great sorrow in his heart. Don't even tell your master that you have seen me, Feng Qingyang shook his head. I will follow your instructions, Ling Huchang said as tears started to emerge in his eyes. Good kid, Feng Qingyang stroked Ling Huchang's head gently and then turned around to go down the cliff. Ling Huchang followed him all the way to the edge of the cliff. Seeing Feng Qingyang's thin figure receding down the cliff and eventually disappearing in the back mountain, he couldn't help but feel deep sorrow and grief. He just left. He's gone. Is Ling Huchang Luke Skywalker? Maybe. Or is he Anakin? Dun dun dun. Hey, congrats, Potato. Good job. And Chi is the Force. Oh my god, there's so many similarities. It's the same universe. It's the same universe. We're just in another planet in the Star Wars universe. During the 10 days or so Ling Huchang spent with Feng Qingyang, even though all they discussed about were sword techniques, he admired Feng Qingyang's demeanor with all his heart. On top of that, he also felt that Feng seemed to be close to him, and the two were indescribably congenial. Feng Qingyang was really a grand uncle master of his who was 2 generations higher than him. Yet deep inside Ling Huchong's heart, he vaguely felt a kind of affection, as if Feng was a good friend in his same age group, who he had wished to meet all along. Comparing to his relationship with his respectful master, Yue Buchun, this one seemed to be much closer instead. You kind of get the sense that Feng Qingyang was kind of like Ling Huchong when he was younger. When this grand uncle master was still young, he probably had the same kind. Did I just say the same thing? He probably had the same kind of temper, just like me, fearing nothing, carefree, and tending to do things following one's free will, Ling Huchong thought aloud. When he taught me the sword techniques, he always liked to say that it's the person using the sword techniques, not the sword techniques using the person. And a person is alive, but sword techniques are not. So an alive person shouldn't be restrained by dead sword techniques. That principle is so true. Why did Master never say anything close to that? He pondered it over for a while and then got his own answers. Of course, Master knows about this principle. It's just that he knows well that I am too carefree and is afraid that once he tells me the principle, I would go on wild imaginations to create a mass and won't follow the rules step by step when I practice sword art. Once I get to a certain level with my sword skills, Master will then explain everything in details. Apprentice brothers and sisters aren't there with their level of kung fu skills, so of course it would be even more difficult for them to understand the principle of advanced sword art. It would be a waste of time telling them. Then his mind slipped into a different thought. Grand Uncle Master's sword skill has really reached the acme, there it is again, the acme of perfection. What a pity it is that he never showed his true skills so I could broaden my horizons. Compared to Master, Grand Uncle Master's sword skill must be another level up. He remembered that Feng Qingyang's face was always covered by depression. He figured, during the last 10 days or so, Grand Uncle Master would occasionally heave deep sighs. Obviously, he had some kind of a big tragedy in his mind. I wonder what happened to him. He heaved a sigh himself and then went out the cave to practice. Yeah. If you've been paying attention, you know why Fang Qingyang is depressed, and he looks back to the old days with sadness. He practiced for a while and then randomly threw out a thrust. It turned out to be the graceful phoenix move from Huashan style sword art. He paused for a second and shook his head with a wry smile. Wrong, he said to himself, and then continued on. Not long after, he threw out another random thrust, and it turned out to be graceful phoenix once again. He couldn't help but get mad at himself. Because I know sword moves from our school very well, and all those moves are already deep-rooted in my mind, as soon as I become careless, I would naturally add the familiar moves from our school into it. Then it's not Dugu 9 swords anymore. Suddenly a thought flashed by his mind. Grand Uncle Master told me to have no restraints and follow the natural flow. Then why couldn't I use sword moves from my own school? And furthermore, why couldn't I add Hengshan, Taishan, or other schools' sword moves, or even Demon Cult 10 Elders' Kung Fu into it? If I insisted on separating them, only using certain type of sword art, not another certain type of sword art, then I am really putting restraints onto myself. So it looks like he's figuring out how to broaden his horizons. He's breaking all the limiting chains that were in his head about martial arts. After figuring that out, he just randomly threw out different moves. If it followed the natural flow, he would mix sword moves from his own school or sword moves from the rock wall together. Instantly, he felt endless fun. The sword moves from the 5 different mountain sword schools were quite different from each other, and the 10 demon cult elders also came from 6 or 7 different sects. It was almost impossible to mix moves from so many different styles. After practicing for some moments, he was still not able to merge them together. Oh, he's gonna create his own sword art, you think? Alright, guys. Be right back. 5-minute break. I'm back. You've never heard Acme used outside of Looney Tunes. Me neither. What's up, Titus? What is Mongians? You're saying hello, Mongians. Hey, Soviet Tube, welcome back. You saw a neat movie about King Henry V? What was the name of the movie? Hey, Losh. You're welcome. That was a song request from Losh, and I played it. DJ Linfamy, playing songs for you. Dun, dun, dun. Alright, so he's practicing sword techniques. He's getting rid of all the limitations he had before, okay? Because he's flowing, okay? He's flowing. He's in the flow. He's also either Anakin Skywalker or Luke Skywalker. We shall see. If I can't merge them together, so what? Why do I have to? He suddenly realized, so he stopped worrying about what move it was, and as soon as he thought of a move, he would simply mix it into the Dooku 9 swords as he pleased. However, out of all those moves, Graceful Phoenix was still the one he used the most. He practiced some more and then threw another random thrust. Not to his surprise, it was Graceful Phoenix once again. What might little apprentice sister say once she sees how I am executing that Graceful Phoenix? He suddenly thought. He held his sword as still as gentle. He held his sword as still as a gentle and soft smile broke out on his face. During the last few days, he had been studying and practicing sword arts with all his heart. Even in his dreams, he had been only thinking about the various variations. They used that like 3 times already. The various variations of the Dooku 9 swords. Now, when he suddenly remembered Yue Ling Shan, lovesick quickly welled up in his heart. Remember, that's his little apprentice sister that he's in love with, but it seems like she's falling for someone else. I wonder if she is still teaching apprentice brother Lin sword arts secretly. Master has strict orders, but little apprentice sister has always been very bold. Relying on master wife's spoiling, she probably started teaching again. Even if she's not teaching sword art, they see each other days and nights, so of course they will become even closer. Gradually, the gentle smile changed into a wry smile, and eventually there was not a trace of happiness left on his face. Feeling quite depressed, he slid his sword back into the sheath slowly. Ah, fuck. Screen! No! I was doing so well. Like the last however many streams. Finally forgot to change the screen. That's one shot. Yeah. That's one shot. Damn it. Let me suck on my balls again. Alright, that's one shot at the end of the stream. I knew I forgot something. Like in my head, I was thinking like, I think I'm forgetting something. Right. You know that feeling in your head where you think you're forgetting something? Always listen to that, by the way. Suddenly, Lu Dayo's shouting voice rose. Lu Dayo is Monkey 6, right? He's the 6th apprentice brother. And also, Ling Huchong's his best friend. Big apprentice. Oh, wait, he has a goofy voice too. Or I gave him a goofy voice. Big apprentice brother! Big apprentice brother! His voice was filled with worry. Oh no. Tian Bo Guang went down the cliff after a crushing defeat. He had said that he was not going to give up and would keep pestering to the very end. Could it be that since he can't beat me in a fight, he had taken little apprentice's sister into hostage so he could force me to surrender? Ling Huchong was stunned. He rushed by the edge of the cliff and looked down. Flustered and exasperated, Lu Dayo ran down the cliff, the food basket in his hands. Bring apprentice brother! Bring apprentice brother! This is not good, Lu Dayo shouted. What happened to little apprentice sister? Ling Huchong asked hurriedly, even more worried. Lu Dayo jumped up the cliff, and after sitting the food basket on a big rock, he said, Little apprentice sister? Little apprentice sister is just fine. This is terrible. I think it's going to be trouble. Hearing what that little apprentice sister was just fine, Ling Huchong felt quite relieved. What trouble? He asked. Master and master wife came back, Lu Dayo panted. Ling Huchong was quite delighted. Bah! Isn't it a great thing that master and master wife have come back? Why are you saying that it's going to be trouble? Nonsense, he reproached. No, you don't understand. Right after master and master wife came back, before they even had a chance to rest, many people came to pay a visit. And among the people coming, there are ones from the Songshan Sword School, the Hangshan Sword School, and the Taishan Sword School, Lu Dayo explained. Our 5 sword schools are all members of the 5 Mountains Sword Alliance. It's quite normal when people from the Songshan Sword School and the others come to pay a visit to Master, Ling Huchong said. No, you don't know. There are 3 others that came together with them and claimed to be part of our Huashan Sword School, but Master doesn't call them apprentice brothers. Really? What do those 3 look like? Ling Huchong asked, feeling slightly surprised. One of them has a yellowish face and claimed to have a surname of Feng, and called something like Feng Bu Ping. Then another one is a Taoist priest. The third one is a short guy. Both of them are called Bu something. I guess they are really ones in the Bu class. So the Bu class is ones with the name Bu with the character Bu in their name. And that's the same level as his master, because his master is Yue Bu Chun. Maybe they are traitors of our school and had been expelled out of the school a long time ago, Ling Huchong nodded. I sounded like Admiral Akbar. It's a trap! Yeah, you guessed it right. As soon as Master saw them, he became very displeased and said to him, Brother Feng, all 3 of you have had your connection with Huashan Sword School dropped a long time ago. Why are you coming back to Mount Huashan again? Then that Feng Bu Ping said, Apprentice Brother Yue, did you buy out Mount Huashan? Are you not allowing other people to come up Mount Huashan? Or did the Emperor grant it to you? Master snorted and then said, If you are just touring around Mount Huashan, of course you have your freedom. Yue Bu Chun is no longer your apprentice brother. I'll have to send the words apprentice brother Yue right back to you, Feng Bu Ping said. Feng Bu Ping said, Your master used schemes and intrigues to seize control of the Huashan Sword School many years ago. They'll have to square the old accounts today. You don't want me to call you apprentice brother Yue. After we square the old accounts, even if you kneel in front of me to beg for it, I wouldn't grant you the wish. Oh, Ling Huchong replied, thinking that Master really had trouble this time. So it turns out that it is people from old people from the Huashan school coming back to meet his master, and we'll see what they want. Us apprentices got all angry at those words, Lu Dayo continued. Little apprentice sister was the first one to yell out. Who would have thought that master wife had a real soft temper this time? She didn't allow little apprentice sister to make any noises. Master obviously didn't take them too seriously. He said dryly, You want to square accounts? What accounts do you want to square? And how do you want to square? Feng Bu Ping said loudly, You have usurped the headmaster post of the Huashan Sword School for over 20... Maybe I should use their voices while this guy is telling the story. Let's see if I can do that. Let's try it. Feng Buping said loudly. You have usurped the headmaster post of the Huashan Sword School for over 20 years. Haven't you had enough of it already? Don't you think it's time to step down now? Master answered with a smile. So all of you took on all the trouble to line up here, just so that you can seize my post of headmaster. What's there to cherish? Brother Feng, if you think you are capable of the headmaster post, of course, I can step aside. Feng Buping said, Your master usurped our sword school's headmaster's post using schemes and intrigues many years ago. Ah, they are from the sword side of the Huashan school a long time ago. I have already petitioned to the Five Mountains Sword Alliance chief, Zhuo, and received the command flag to become the new headmaster of the Huashan Sword School in his command. He took out a small flag from his chest pocket and extended it out. It is indeed the command flag of the Five Mountains Sword Alliance. Isn't Alliance Chief Zhuo a bit too impetuous to think he has the authority here? This is an internal affair of the Huashan Sword School. We don't need him to poke his nose in that matter. What right has he to decide who should be the headmaster of our Huashan Sword School? Ling Hucheng shouted angrily. That's right. Master Wife said the same thing. But that Lu named old guy from the Songzhang Sword School, Crane Hands Lu Bai, the old folk we saw at Uncle Master Liu's house in Hongshan, he spared no efforts backing up that Feng Buping, saying that the Feng named guy should become the headmaster of the Huashan Sword School, and argued again and again with Master Wife. And those two guys from the Taishan Sword School and the Hongshan Sword School, this is so annoying, also ganged up with Feng Buping. The three schools of theirs have decided to gang up to give trouble to our Huashan Sword School. Hongshan Sword School is the only one that doesn't have anyone involved. Big apprentice brother, I figured this is going to be big trouble. That's why I came in a rush to tell you. So it looks like those guys that used to be from the sword side of the Huashan School are coming back, trying to get the post of the headmaster of the Huashan School, right? Trying to seize the head of the Huashan School, and he got help from the leader of the entire alliance, this Chief Zhuo guy, because he had their command flag, which is like, a symbol of the chief. When our school has trouble, as long as us apprentices can still breathe, we are all willing to die for master. 6 apprentice brother, let's go. Ling Hucheng shouted. Right. When master sees that you are working for him, for sure he won't blame you for leaving the cliff without permission, Lu Dayo exclaimed. It's all right, even if master does blame me. Master is a courteous gentleman, and he doesn't like to argue with others. Maybe he will actually let someone have the post of headmaster. Wouldn't that be terrible? Ling Hucheng started rushing down the cliff using his qinggong. In the middle of running, Ling Hucheng suddenly heard somebody shouting from the mountain path in front of him. Oh no. I know what's coming next. Ling Hucheng, where are you? Who is calling my name? Ling Hucheng asked. Are you Ling Hucheng? Several voices asked in unison. That's right, Ling Hucheng answered. Suddenly, 2 shadows flashed by and blocked in the middle of the road. The mountain path was very narrow, and on one side of the path was the 10,000 feet deep bottomless valley. When the 2 men showed up so abruptly on the mountain path all of a sudden, Ling Hucheng was in the middle of a fast dash and almost bumped into them. He stopped abruptly and found himself only a foot away from the 2. The 2 faces were both very bumpy and wrinkly and looked very frightening. In great surprise, Ling Hucheng immediately turned around and leapt back 10 feet or so, shouting, Who are you? But to his great astonishment, he found another 2 extremely ugly faces, also bumpy and wrinkly, blocking his way. The 2 faces were less than half a foot from his face, and their noses almost touched his nose. Ling Hucheng immediately took a step to his side, and again found 2 more people standing by his side, between him and the bottomless abyss. Their faces were also very similar to the previous 4. Having bumped into 6 freaks all of a sudden, Ling Huchong was at a loss as to what to do, and his heart pounded like a drum. Within the split of a second, the 6 freaks had jostled him into a 3-inch wide small space. The breaths of the 2 in front of him had already reached his face. He could also feel warm air on his back neck. Apparently, it was because of the breathing from the 2 behind him. In a hurry, he reached for his sword. However, as soon as his finger touched the handle of the sword, the 6 freaks took a half step forward, all at the same time, and jostled with their bodies toward the middle. Instantly, Ling Huchong was squeezed into such a tight space that he couldn't even move an inch. Hey, what are you guys doing? Lu Dayu's voice rose from behind him. Even though Ling Huchong had a bag full of tricks at the moment, he was scared out of his wits. Those 6 freaks looked almost like trolls or monsters, and not only did they have scary looks, their behaviors were even more freaky. Ling Huchong tried hard to open his arms so he could push away the 2 in front of him, but with his arms being jostled down, he had no way of pushing. They must be villains together with Feng Buping's group, he thought to himself hurriedly. Oompa Loompas. Good job, Nikki. So, okay, we're at the point where Ling Huchong is going down the mountain, okay? He's going down the mountain. And the story is starting, the main story is starting. We're gonna meet a lot of really interesting characters, okay? Just gonna say that. His entire body felt the great pressure. He couldn't even breathe. Hold on. Yeah. His entire body felt great pressure. He couldn't even breathe. The 4 freaks kept jostling toward the middle, and soon Ling Huchong's joints started popping. Not daring to stare right into the eyes of the freak right in front of him, Ling Huchong quickly shut his eyes tight. Then he heard a screeching voice. Ling Huchong, we'll take you to see the little nun. Oh no. So they are Tian Boguang's gang, Ling Huchong thought to himself. If you don't let go of me, I'll commit suicide with my sword. Ling Huchong would rather die, he shouted. Suddenly, Ling Huchong felt 2 hands grabbing onto both of his arms. The grips were as tight as clamps. Even though he had learned the Dugu 9 swords, he had no means of using it at all. He groaned inwardly. The good little nun wants to see you. Behave yourself. Be a good kid too. Another voice rose. It would not be good if you become dead. If you commit suicide, I'll beat you half dead and half alive, a third one said. He would be completely dead already. Why would you still beat him half dead, half alive? Someone else argued. If you want to scare him, don't let him near you. Once he hears it, he won't fall for it, another one commented. I just like to scare him. What are you gonna do about it? The previous one mocked. I think it's better to talk him into behaving himself, another one suggested. I said to scare him, and I will scare him, the previous one said. I like to talk him out of it, and another one insisted. The 2 actually went on arguing against each other nonstop. I don't know how much longer I can do this. I can't do all 6 voices, so I'll just give them 1 voice for all 6 people. Ling Huchong listened as the 2 argued foolishly. He was both greatly shocked and annoyed. He thought to himself, the 6 freaks have very high kung fu skills. However, they seem to be really stupid. So he shouted, It's useless to try to scare me or talk me out of it. If you don't let go of me, I'll bite off my tongue and kill myself. Suddenly, great pain came from his cheeks. Someone had grabbed onto his jaw. This guy is really stubborn. If he bites off his tongue, he won't be able to talk. The little nun won't like that for sure, one voice said. If he bites off his tongue, he would be dead. Why would it matter if he can still talk or not? Another one argued. He might not die. If you don't believe me, you can bite on your own to try it out, a third one suggested. I said he would die, so I won't bite off my own tongue. Why won't you try it out? The previous one mocked. Why should I bite off my own tongue? I got it. Let him try it. The one before him replied. There came a loud cry from Lu Dao. Apparently, those 6 freaks had captured him. You, bite off your own tongue and let's see if you will die or not. Hurry up, bite, one freak yelled. I won't. If I bite up my tongue off, I'd be dead for sure, Lu Dao shouted. That's right, if one bites his tongue off, he would be dead for sure. Even he said so too, one of the freaks said. He's not dead yet. His words are not dependable, another one argued. He didn't bite his tongue off, so of course he won't die. If he did, he would die. A third one commented. Ling Wuchang gathered his strength and jerked his arms abruptly. Instantly, the pain from his wrists went deep into his marrow, yet he would still not be able to move a single bit. In the instant, he suddenly hit upon a way out of the trouble. He let out a loud scream and then pretended to be out cold. The 6 freaks all cried out in surprise. The one who grabbed at Ling Wuchang's cheeks immediately let go of him. He was scared to death, a freak commented. He can't be scared to death. He's not that big of a loser, another one disagreed. Even if he's dead, he wasn't scared to death, another one suggested. Then how did he die? The previous one asked. Lu Dayou actually believed that they had tortured Big Apprentice's brother to death and burst into a loud cry. I think he was scared to death, a freak insisted. You grabbed him too hard. He was grabbed to death, another one suggested. How on earth did he die? A third one questioned. I shut down my arteries and killed myself, Ling Wuchang shouted loudly. The 6 freaks were shocked when they suddenly heard Ling Wuchang talking. Then they all broke into loud laughs and said, Nah, he's not dead. He was pretending to be dead. I wasn't pretending. After I died, I came back to life again, Ling Wuchang claimed. Do you really know how to shut down your arteries? That must be a very difficult kung fu. Will you teach me? A freak asked. The shut down your own arteries kung fu is very advanced. This dude doesn't know it. He's lying to you, another freak said. Did you say I don't know it? Did you say I don't know it? If I don't know it, how could I have shut down my arteries and killed myself earlier? Ling Wuchang challenged. Well, that's really odd. The freak scratched his head and didn't know how to answer. Ling Wuchang now was sure that even though the 6 freaks had excellent kung fu skills, their brains were certainly dull-witted to the extreme. So he said, If you don't let go of me, I am going to shut down my arteries again. After I die this time, I won't be able to come back to life anymore. The 2 freaks that had been grabbing onto Ling Wuchang's wrists tightly immediately let go of him and said in unison, You can't die. If you die, it would be terrible. Well, if you don't want me dead, you'll have to move aside and let me through. I got to take care of some important business, Ling Wuchang suggested. The 2 freaks blocking his way shook their heads at the same time, both to the left and then both to the right. No way, no way. You have to come with us to see the little nun, they said in unison. Ling Wuchang gathered his inner energy and jumped up, hoping to be able to jump over the 2 freaks' heads, but to his surprise, the 2 freaks also jumped up in great speed, and their 2 bodies made a flying wall that blocked Ling Wuchang's path again. Ling Wuchang's body bumped with the 2 freaks' bodies and fell back down to the ground. Drift says, stay in school, kids, or you'll end up like this. That's funny. While still in midair, Ling Wuchang had already grabbed hold of his sword handle. He waved his arm to draw his sword, but suddenly felt great burdens on both of his shoulders. The 2 freaks behind him had each reached out with an arm and placed a hand on each of his shoulders. His sword was only about a foot out of the sheath, and he simply could not draw it out. The 2 hands on his shoulders each seemed to have weighed hundreds of pounds. His body was immediately pushed lower. He couldn't even stand straight, not mentioning drawing his sword. So these 6 freaks are super powerful, but they're super stupid. And they seem to be arguing a lot. And they're saying they want to take him to Yilin, the little nun, right? So maybe Tian Boguang wasn't lying. So what is going on? Let's carry him away. After the 2 freaks pushed him down to the ground, they suggested with big smiles. The 2 freaks in front of Ling Wuchang each reached out with a hand to grab onto his ankles and picked him off the ground. Hey, what are you doing? Lu Dayou shouted. This chap is so annoying. Let's kill him, a freak suggested and raised his palm high, ready to strike down onto Lu Dayou's head. Don't kill him! Don't kill him! Ling Wuchang cried out loudly. All right, I'll listen to you. I won't kill him. I'll seal his mute point instead. That freak replied. He didn't even bother turning around and simply pointed backward with his finger. In a whistling sound, he had sealed Lu Dayo's mute point with a beam of energy. Lu Dayo was in the middle of screaming, but the scream suddenly stopped abruptly, as if someone had cut his scream off using a pair of scissors, and his body immediately huddled up. Ling Hucheng had rarely seen such accuracy and mighty power demonstrated in the freak's point sealing skills. He couldn't help but show great admiration. Excellent kung fu, he praised. The freak was greatly pleased. This is nothing. I have more cool kung fu skills. Let me demonstrate a few of them for you, he said with a big smile. If it were in normal days, Ling Hucheng would have wanted to broaden his horizons, but at the moment he really worried about his master's safety and was very anxious. I don't want to watch, he shouted. Why don't you want to watch? You'll have to watch, the freak said angrily. He jumped into the air and flew over Ling Hucheng and the 4 freaks holding Ling Hucheng like a big bird. His body maintained a horizontal position when he flew in the air and looked as if he was a swallow, gliding in the air with beautiful postures. Beautiful! Ling Hucheng couldn't help but blurt out another praise. The freak landed back to the ground smoothly and gently, without even bringing up any dust. By the time he turned around, great smiles piled up on his long, horsey face. This is really nothing. I got a lot more better than that, he said happily. He was at least somewhere close to 60 or 70 years old, yet his temper and the way he behaved was just like a little kid that wanted to keep showing off as soon as someone praised him. The superb and profound kung fu and the childish and naive behavior of him happened to be the exact opposite in extreme. Ling Hucheng thought, Master and Master Wife are in trouble right now, surrounded by tough enemy. The enemy has all those Songshan, Taishan, and the bunch of elite fighters to back him. Even if I go over there, the situation wouldn't be improved much. Why don't I trick these freaks into going over there to help Master and Master Wife out? So he shook his head and said, You guys' little kung fu is far from enough to show off here on Mount Huashan. Wait. You guys' little kung fu is far from good enough to show off here on Mount Huashan. Far from good enough? What are you talking about? You got caught by us, didn't you? That freak rebuffed. I am just a nobody in the Huashan Sword School. What's so difficult to beat me? Right now there are many elite master hands from Songshan, Taishan, Hongshan, and Huashan School gathered here at Mount Huashan. Of course you guys wouldn't be brave enough to go provoke them, would you? Ling Hucheng bluffed. Why would we be afraid to provoke them? Where are they? The freak asked. We won the bet with that little nun, so the little nun asked us to come get Ling Hucheng. She never asked us to provoke any elite master hands from the Songshan Sword School or the Taishan Sword School. We should only do one favor for the win. If we do too many favors, it's not worth it. Let's go, another one suggested. Hearing those words, Ling Hucheng felt very relieved. It turned out that they were sent by little apprentice sister Yi Lin. Then they must not be enemies of mine. It seemed that they had lost a bet and thus had to come get me. It's funny that they still want to save their faces and claim to have actually won the bet instead. That's a good idea, he said. The elite master hand from the Songshan Sword School said that he looked down upon those 6 old freaks with horsey faces that looked like tangerine skins, and as soon as he sees the 6 of them, he would nip them dead one by one, like nipping puny ants. Too bad that as soon as those 6 old freaks hear his voice, they all immediately ran far away, and there was no way for him to find them. At these words, the 6 freaks roared in great outrage. The 4 of them, who had been carrying Ling Hucheng, sat him back down on the ground and then shouted all together. Where is this guy? Take us to him. We'd like to fight with him. Another burp. 2 burps. What about the Songshan Sword School or the Taishan Sword School? Peach Valley 6 fairies think nothing of them. Is he insane or something? How dare he nip Peach Valley 6 fairies dead like nipping puny ants? Well, you call yourselves Peach Valley 6 fairies. Oh wait, Peach Valley's is 6 fairies. That's too hard to say. Let's call them Peach Valley 6 fairies. Well, you call yourself Peach Valley 6 fairies, but he kept on calling you Peach Valley 6 trolls or something. Peach Valley 6 kids. I'd advise you 6 fairies to bet. You better stay away. You better stay as far away from him as possible. That guy's kung fu is so vicious. You don't stand a chance fighting him. Ling Hu Chong added. No way, no way. Let's go fight him and see who's better, a freak shouted out. I think this doesn't look too good. If that elite master hand from the Songshan Sword School dares to say so, he must have superb skills to back himself up. He had called us Peach Valley 6 kids, then he probably is a senior master of ours, and we probably can't beat him in a fight. The less trouble we have to deal with, the better. Why don't we go back, now? Another freak suggested. Sixth brother has the least guts. We haven't even had the fight yet. How do you know we can't beat him? Another one exclaimed. What if he really can nip us dead like nipping ants? Wouldn't that be real bad luck? And after we fight him, we'd all be nipped dead anyways. How could we run away by then? The coward freak asked. That's right, Ling Hu Chong laughed out loud inwardly. If you want to run away, you need to hurry up. If he gets the news and then comes after you, you won't have enough time to run away by then. Hearing these words, the coward freak immediately started running. Only after a blurry flash, he had already vanished from everyone's sight. Wow, he's gotten really excellent Qinggong skills, Ling Hu Chong thought to himself in surprise. Sixth brother has no guts. It's alright that he ran away. We'll go fight the elite master hand from the Songshan Sword School, a freak proposed. So, if you're confused about what's happening, Ling Hu Chong is saying that there is a guy from the Songshan school, right now at his school, and he can beat. He's more powerful than these Peach Valley 6 fairies, right? So he's enticing them to come and try to defeat this imaginary guy. Hurry up and take us over there. Let's see how he'll nip us dead like nipping puny ants, a freak said as he patted on Ling Hu Chong's shoulder gently. Well, I can take you over, but as a true man, I, Ling Hu Chong, will never let others force me into doing things. I really resented it when I heard that Songshan Sword School elite master hand ridicule the 6 of you left and right. Also because I admired the superb kung fu of yours very much. That's why I am volunteering to take you over there from a sense of justice, so you can get even with them. If you force me to do this or that simply because you have more bodies here, I'll never do it, even if I have to die, Ling Hu Chong announced. Great, you have quite some integrity and sharp eyes too, to be able to see that the 6 brothers of us have superb kung fu skills. We brothers admire you too. The 5 freaks all applauded. If so, I'd be glad to take you guys over there. When you see him, you must not speak or act irresponsibly, so people in the martial world won't hold you guys for ridicule and say that Peach Valley 6 fairies are naive, childish, and lack common sense. You have to all listen to my instructions, otherwise you will make me lose face greatly, and we'll all look stupid, Ling Hu Chong said. He was just testing the water here. Who would have thought that the 5 freaks immediately agreed with no complaints whatsoever? That's perfect. We can't ever let others call us Peach Valley 6 fairies naive, childish, and lack common sense, the 5 of them answered in unison. Apparently they have heard those words, naive, childish, and lack common sense, many times already, and considered them very embarrassing comments. Ling Hu Chong's words were almost like music to their ears. Good. Will you please follow me? Ling Hu Chong nodded at them and then hurried down the mountain path. I guess that's how you deal with kids. You guys like the freak voice? It's so hard to read. Especially when they're arguing back and forth. But I'm trying, brother. I'm trying. If you call yourself a bunch of fairies, you can't be surprised when people don't believe you have excellent kung fu. Oh yeah, about the name fairies, right? So I don't know if that's a good translation or not, because I was thinking more instead of fairies, I would call it like uh immortals or gods. I don't know. Losh, if you can help me out. Um yeah, because I would like translate it as the six gods. I think that's what the word, at least in Vietnamese, the word sounds like more like gods. That doesn't mean that they're actually gods. It's just their name. The five freaks followed right behind Ling Huchang, carrying Lu Dayo with them. Only after a couple of miles, they found the coward freak popping his head up and down to peek out from behind a big rock. Ling Huchang figured that this one definitely needed some encouragement. So he said to him, "That Songshan Sword School's old folks' kung fu is far from yours. It's far from yours. You don't need to be afraid of him. We are going there to kick his ass. Why don't you come with us?" "Great, I'm going too," the freak said with great joy. However, he immediately asked again, "Well, you said that his kung fu is far from mine. Is his kung fu far better than mine or far worse?" He was quite timid, so naturally he was very cautious. "Of course, yours is far better than his. When you were running earlier, I could tell that you have outstanding Qinggong skills. That old folk from the Songshan Sword School will never be able to keep up with you," Ling Huchang said with a grin. That freak was very pleased and decided to join the group, walking next to Ling Huchang, but he still wasn't too sure about it and asked, "What if he did catch up with me? What then?" "I'll always be by your side, and if he ever dares to catch up with you, huh." Ling Wuchang pulled his sword half a foot out of the sheath and then snapped it back with a forceful push. "I'll whack him with a single thrust," he said. "Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, you have to keep your words," the freak said with great joy. "Of course. If he can't keep up with you, then I don't need to kill him," Ling Wuchang promised. "Sure, if he can't keep up with me, then we'll let him go," the freak smiled happily. Ling Wuchang laughed hard inwardly. He thought to himself, "Once you start running, I am sure it wouldn't be an easy task to keep up with you." He then figured, these six old folks are unsophisticated and honest. They aren't bad guys. It wouldn't be a bad idea to make acquaintances with them. So he spoke again. "Six fairies, your names have long resounded my ears. Wait, your names have long resounded in my ears. Today I finally get to meet all of you. And sure enough, you all live up to your reputation. I was wondering, what are the respectful names of the six of you?" Remember, he just met them. He's pretending that, I've heard of your reputation, guys. The six freaks had no idea that what Ling Huchang just said was totally illogical. And as soon as they heard him saying that their names had long resounded in his ears, they were all wild with joy. "I am the big brother. My name is Peachtree Root Fairy," one said. "I am the second. My name is Peachtree Trunk Fairy," another one said. "I am either the third or the fourth." "I'm either the third or the fourth. My name is Peachtree Branch Fairy," a third one said. He pointed at a fourth one and said, "He is either the third or the fourth. His name is Peachtree Leaf Fairy." "How come you don't even know if you are the third or the fourth yourselves?" Ling Huchang asked in surprise. "It's not that we don't know. It's because my mom and dad forgot about it," Branch Fairy explained. When your mom and dad gave birth to you, if they forgot that they had ever given birth to you as a little kid, how would you know if there's a you in the world?" Leaf Fairy interrupted. "Right, right. Luckily, my parents remembered that they gave birth to me." Ling Huchang nodded while working hard to hold his laugh. "Here you go," Leaf Fairy said. "So how did your parents forget about it?" Ling Huchang asked. "At the time when mom and dad gave birth to us, the two brothers, they remembered who was the elder one and who was the younger one. However, they forgot about it a few years later. That's why we don't really know who is the third and who is the fourth," Leaf Fairy said. He pointed at Branch Fairy and said, "He really wanted to be the third, and if I don't call him third brother, he would start a fist fight with me, so I had to let him have it." So you are two brothers," Ling Huchang smiled. "Yeah, we are six brothers," Branch Fairy said. Ling Huchang thought to himself, "Well, parents are dumb parents. No wonder they gave birth to 6 dumb sons. What are you two's names? Ling Hucheng asked the rest of the two. The rest too? Wait. He asked the rest. Let me tell him, I am the 6th. My name is Peachtree Fruit Fairy. My 5th brother is named Peachtree Flower Fairy, the coward freak announced. Ling Hucheng was able to stifle a laugh, thinking, the Peachtree Flower Fairy has such an ugly face. He really has nothing even comparable to a peach tree flower. Whew. I need to drink a lot of water. Seeing Ling Hucheng's smiling face, Flower Fairy said happily, among the 6 brothers, my name is the most beautiful one. Theirs are no match for mine. Peachtree... Wait. Who's talking? Peachtree Flower Fairy is such a pleasant name. And Peachtree Root, Peachtree Root, Peachtree Trunk, Peachtree Branch, Peachtree Leaf, and Peachtree Fruit are all beautiful names too. Wonderful, wonderful. If I could have a name so beautiful and pleasant, I'd be delighted beyond words. Every one of the 6 fairies felt unspeakable happiness and couldn't help but dance with joy, feeling that Ling Hucheng was truly the '1 nice guy in the world. Let's keep going now. Will one of the Peachtree brothers please open my apprentice brothers' point? Your point sealing techniques are way too advanced for me. There's no way I'll be able to open his points all by myself, Ling Hucheng said with a smile. Each getting a flattery, a lot of flattery, dude. Each getting a flattery, Peach Valley 6 fairies immediately vied with each other in... Peach Valley 6 fairies immediately vied with each other in rushing by Lu Dayo to open his sealed points. From the Cliff of Contemplation to the House of Integrity of the Huashan Sword School, it was somewhere between 3 to 4 miles. Other than Lu Dayo, everyone had good Qinggong skills, and it took them almost no time to arrive at the House of Integrity. As soon as they got there, Ling Hucheng saw Lao Dunhua, Liang Fa, Xu Dazi, Yue Lingshan, Lin Pingzhi, and a bunch of dozens of apprentice brothers and sisters all standing outside of the hall, looking quite worried. Seeing that the big apprentice brother had arrived, everyone felt a bit relieved. DD says, I find them so adorable despite being described as ugly freaks. But they're totally adorable. Like, how do you not love these 6 freaks? Okay. Well, people in the chat like big peaches, apparently. I don't know if their peaches are that big though. They may look like peaches. I'm picturing them as little, like short, like 6 short little guys. Short little old guys. Yeah. So they may be, yeah. 6 peaches may be pretty accurate. Okay, so they reach the house of the House of Integrity. I guess that's the main hall. Lao Dunhua greeted them and whispered to Ling Hucheng, big apprentice brother, master and master wife are greeting guests inside. Ling Hucheng turned his head back and signaled the Peach Valley 6 fairies to not make any sound while they stand there waiting. Those 6 are my friends. You don't have to worry about them. Let me go have a look, he whispered to Lao Dunhua, and then peeked inside from the crack of the hall windows. Normally, when Yue Buchun and Madame Yue greet guests, apprentices would never have peeked inside from the outside. However, since the Huashan Sword School was in great trouble right now, all the apprentices didn't think what Ling Hucheng did was anything inappropriate at all. Oh, we finished. We finished book 1. Yay us. Yeah, like I said, right? This is only the introduction, kind of, right? Where Ling Hucheng learns his martial arts. We got 3 more books left. 3 more books left. And yeah, this is really only the introduction, and we're gonna meet a lot more interesting characters, right? These 6 freaks are one of those, but there are other people that I think you may like. Peach boba tea. That sounds good. This honeydew is pretty good too. All right. Yeah. So we meet the six freaks. Ling Wuchang runs I feel like most of this chapter was just them arguing with each other. Oh, they're gonna keep doing that, by the way. Like Ping One Finger, yeah. Ping One Finger is also a funny character. How many chapters is in this book? Dun dun dun. Look at that. We're 71, so we're gonna have 71 videos. Yeah, I guess it's chapter 40, so they're splitting up the chapters because they're way too long, I guess. But yeah, 71. So we have 4 books, and we just finished with book 1. What does winter melon taste like? Really good. I don't know. Is it short? I don't know. We went on for what? An hour and a half, I think. Yeah, we started at 5:30. It's now 7. So we went for an hour and a half. I think because I didn't take breaks. Because usually I take breaks every 30 minutes. So maybe it seemed longer. All right, I have to do a shot. But we always do that anyways. All right. Okay. Got my lovely fireball here. We're half done, guys. We're halfway. Can you see? Yeah, we're halfway done with the bottle. Ew. Boba pizza. Ew. I've seen boba pizza before. I never tried it before. Don't make me try it. It looks it looks cursed. Boba pizza. Come on. All right. Little ASMR for you guys. All right. Cheers. Whew. You didn't feel like it was already over an hour. Oh, it's your first live stream. Yay. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sticking around. Sweet pizza aren't half bad, I guess. I don't like pineapple pizza either. Like I can eat it, but I don't seek it out. So boba pizza seems even more cursed. When comes a video about ninjas? I do have videos about ninjas. You just have to look in the archives. I have a few videos about ninjas actually. Welcome to the live stream. Offers you a special boba tea. What? Do you drink gin? I'll drink anything. I'm not a big drinker, so like most liquor tastes the same to me. I can't taste the difference. Maybe a little bit. but they all taste the same. And honestly, they're not that good. I'd rather drink boba tea than liquor. It is fun to drink socially though. It is fun to drink with other people. You need to try dessert pizzas. They're amazing. I don't know. I see pizza as a savory food instead of dessert. Because I don't know, like cheese plus something sweet, it seems weird to me. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I need to try some dessert pizzas. I do get the Asian flush, by the way. After like 1 or 2 shots, I'll get the Asian flush. Oh yeah. I don't get buzzed after 1 shot, but you do see the Asian flush, and people will go like, "Are you drunk? Are you drunk?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not drunk." All right, guys. I feel like we're just talking about nothing. So, all right. There's no cheese in dessert pizzas. All right, you tell me about it in the Discord chat. All right, guys. Bye. Thanks for coming. Next week we'll start book 2. See you. And I love you.